Hey, guys.
Hey guys, Coach is at the podium right now, as we always do. Raise your hand and we'll come around to as many as we can get in the time allotted. We'll start up first with Christian Guzman from Noon's Magician. Go ahead.
Hey Coach, you've had a pretty good cornerback duo this entire year in Fatima LaFondue and Garrett Williams. What has those two guys done this year that has led to their success against their opposing wide receivers?
You know, it's first of all is their work ethic. I have this rule that I won't leave practice until my last player is done, and those are two individuals that, along with some other individuals on the team, that are constantly, after every single practice, working on their skills. Even though they go through a 2.5-hour practice, 2-hour practice, at the end of that practice, they get together, they work with each other, they work on releases, they work on techniques to make themselves better, and they're constantly trying to prepare themselves to be the best that they can possibly be. Both of those young men are having really good seasons, and I couldn't be even more proud of them.
Thanks, Coach.
Next we go to Nico Tamurian.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate the time. And if I could step outside of football rather, for 1 second. I just wanted to talk about, tomorrow being election day, and obviously we've seen how this year has been. What does it mean that most of the student athletes on campus are registered, and just how important it is for those kids and for everybody really to get out there and exercise their right to vote tomorrow?
Oh, you know what? Based off of everything that's gone on in 2020, I couldn't be more excited for those young men. That was one of the things they were talking about way back in the summer, that they wanted to be involved in not only being able to vote, but being able to help other people in the community get out and be able to vote as well. I exercised my right on Sunday, bright and early, and I won't tell you where I went and did it at, but I will say this: I appreciate the people in line that was really giving me some pick-me-uppers and talking about how much they're supporting us and how much they're rooting for us down the road, and they can't wait to get an opportunity to see us in person in the Dome. So I thank all those people that were speaking to me in line. But get out and vote. It's going to be an exciting time, and it's a time where we need to hear everybody's voice. So please exercise that right.
Thank you so much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nico. Next we go to Mark Larson.
Hey, Coach. Speaking of voting, I think if it were on the ballot right now, it would be a toss-up as to who the SU fan base would elect the starting quarterback. So how do you balance what you think the fan base might want, what you think might be best for your program in the long run, and what you think is best for Rex Culpepper, a guy who's been here for 5 years? How do you juggle all that?
You know, thanks for the question, Mark. My big thing is we're going to continue to evaluate those guys, and we're going to put the best guy out there that gives us an opportunity to win. You know, we appreciate what both of them have done. We appreciate what Tommy's done. And it's just one of those situations where you got to continue to evaluate and see exactly where they're at. And at the same time, not giving away too much information to your opponents who are also trying to prepare for you.
A quick follow-up to that, where is Jacoby in terms of offense? You say, like, if you put him out there, you have to limit what you guys can do. Is he 50% of the playbook? Is it more than that? Is it less than that?
Once again, if I give out too much information with those guys listening to all these press conferences that we do, just like I do, we give them too much of an advantage. So I'll just try to keep that in-house right now.
Thanks, Mark. Next we'll go to Seth Goldberg.
Hey, Dino, you said a couple of times after the game on Saturday that the seniors and the upperclassmen want to win more than the underclassmen. What did you mean by that?
That's not exactly what I said. A little bit out of context. What I mean is when seniors get to their senior years, they don't have anywhere else to go. This is it for them. And the will for them to go out as winners is strong because they know that they can't go play tackle football for their companies, and they can't go play tackle football for the rec center or something to that effect. Once you're done, you're done. It's not like baseball where you get to go to softball and hit home runs and tell everybody how good you were in baseball. I mean, when you hang up your cleats, you're done. So that's what I mean, that there's a burning desire in those older guys to really go out as winners, and you want to give them every opportunity to do that.
Thanks for clearing it up. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Next we'll go to Stephen Bailey.
Hey Dino, I wanted to ask if you could just kind of assess your offensive line play through the season thus far. What have you seen from that group as far as growth as a unit, and if any individuals have stood out to you?
Well, it's basically been the same guys, and I think that they've done a fantastic job of staying healthy. I mean, we really don't have a lot of places to go to, and they're under strict orders not to let anything happen to their bodies or else. So they have been following those orders. But there's been growth. Guys are getting better. There's no doubt about it. We need to continue to make sure that our weak links are getting better, and we're only as good as the guy that's learning the most, the weakest link on the team, or the weakest link on the line, and everybody needs to get better so that the unit can get better. I think they're doing a good job so far. They've picked it up the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Just to follow up on that, we saw Dakota Davis get in for that last drive. Where is he, and what could he potentially bring to that group?
Well, he's finally healthy. He stayed upright. We got an opportunity to put him in a game, and he didn't fall down. Well, he fell down once, but he's still up. He's still playing. He's still healthy, and now we get a chance to really get after him a week in practice. You don't want to send him out there too early when he hasn't had all the conditioning and all that other kind of stuff, game conditioning. But we'll really get after him this week in practice, and he'll have, hopefully he'll get an opportunity to play a little bit more than what he did last week.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next we'll go to Adam Hillman.
Hey, Coach. So on Saturday, after the game, you talked about Cooper and what he'd done in the offseason. What did you think about his performance on Saturday, and and what did he really show you in that game?
Okay, let me answer the last part. What he really showed me is it's not too big for him. I thought he did some really nice things. In the game, earlier in the game, some things happened, and I kind of called him over and had some positive reinforcement for him. And some guys take that to heart, some guys don't, but he did. And he went back out there and did exactly what I asked him to do, even better. So I'm really happy with the things that he's done, and I think he's going to get better and better.
Yeah, so, what did you ask him to do, and what do you think he can get better from that game and keep improving on?
Well, I'm not going to tell you what I asked him to do, but I thought he did a nice job catching the football, and I thought that he did a nice job finishing some runs for us.
Thanks, Adam. Next we'll go to Dan Tortora.
Hey, Coach, just what you could say, going off of Cooper, but not only that, Jihad Carter, Garrett Williams, Rob Hanna, you've had so many guys that have had to step up due to, players that decided not to play due to COVID or with injuries and whatnot. Just what you could say about, the next man up approach and how some of the best players on the team so far this season have been those guys that maybe didn't anticipate that they were going to be out there right away.
We've always had, it's the attitude that you have to have in football. It's got to be the next guy because you never know what's going to happen. But those young people are getting invaluable reps. To be able to be a freshman and to say that you're playing football in the ACC and you're actually on the field going against the ETNs and the Trevor Johnsons of the world, it's unbelievable, the experience that they're getting. Now, they can take that and turn it into a positive when this season, finish out the season strong and go to the weight room and realize what you're missing to make yourself better, or you can take those reps and season ends and you go back and you don't do those type of things and you've wasted a golden opportunity. So many young men would just do anything to be able to be a starter as a freshman at this level, and they've gotten the opportunity, some through others people's decisions and some through injury, but nonetheless, it's an opportunity for them to do something very positive with their situation instead of something that's negative.
And then a quick follow-up, Jacobian, just to go back and look at that tape, I know you said that he got in toward the end of the game, but to go 7 of 7 to get his first touchdown, to be able to roll out and throw on the run like he did, what did you see from him?
He did what he was supposed to do. If you're going against a base defense and they're not blitzing you and they haven't prepared for you and you have guys open, you're supposed to be able to get the ball to them. He did that. Somebody came off the edge, him being able to slightly move, avoid the guy, throw the ball across his body, he did that. And so really, stuff was just kind of normal stuff to me. Now, the last play was really good. The touchdown throw was a good throw on time. That would have worked no matter what was going on. So out of those 7 plays or 7 throws where he did where he was supposed to do, I like the last one the best.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, go to Anthony DeBundo from the Daily Orange.
Yeah, I want to specifically ask along the offensive line about both Chris Elmore and Matt Bergeron. How do you feel like Bergeron was able to cope with Basham, and how do you feel like he did? And then if Dakota Davis were to come back, what's the future for Chris Elmore going forward?
Again, that's a lot of the Chris Elmore information is a lot of information that the people that we're playing would like to have, so I'm not going to share that with you. But I thought that, I thought Bergeron did okay. The guy's a good player. Bergeron's a good player, and he's going to go against more guys like that. Bergeron's going to be here a long time, and he'll probably go against, unfortunately, 3 or 4 guys better than him. But I thought, all things being considered, where that guy is in age and where Bergeron is, that he did okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Brad Klein.
Hey, Coach, just circling back to Jacobian, what went into the decision to bring him in rather than a different quarterback on the roster at the end?
Just based off of practice, he was the one that got the most reps. So we decided to put him in because we thought he would have the best opportunity to do the best.
And just to follow up on that, I'm assuming other quarterbacks have had practice reps as well. How do they look in their limited opportunities?
We're increasing the reps with the other quarterbacks. As quarterbacks get hurt, then more quarterbacks get more opportunities, and then we just got to keep developing them.
Thanks a lot.
Next, we'll go to Darius Joshua.
How you doing, Coach? Wanted to ask you about your rush defense. You had the multiple weeks there where you're living up multiple 100-yard rushers, but did not have that against Wake Forest, although they did have, up to the 3 rushing touchdowns. And while Boston College isn't running the way they did in the past with A.J. Dillon, they still obviously had a guy who was very successful against you last year. Kind of how do you assess the run defense going into this matchup with BC?
Our run defense.
Yes.
Their team has really kind of flipped sides. They're really throwing the ball a lot more with the transfer from Notre Dame, and in fact, they've got a bunch of transfers that all became eligible. So it's almost like they're a little bit different team than what we faced in the Dome last year, which was a good football team nonetheless. But, they have the ability to run the football. They've got big guys that are still there. A lot of offensive linemen are still there, and that tailback that still did really well against us. So it's definitely a concern. We know that those guys like to do that, and I'm sure that they can go back to where they were anytime they want based off of how many years in a row that those guys that did that running game. So it's definitely a concern, and hopefully we can do a lot better than we did the year before.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Nate Mink.
This is I admit a little downstream from where we're at, but do you know how the winter will look like yet? Syracuse is emptying its campus around Thanksgiving. There's going to be college football games played throughout December. Are your guys allowed to be up here and moving into that winter conditioning period then, or what's kind of the rough time frame on what we're looking at?
Yeah, it's kind of still unknown territory, unknown waters, really, Nate. I believe our last game's December 5th. Okay, and obviously, the bowl game limits have been taken off if there's going to be bowl games. I know that a lot of bowl games are saying no because of this or that, or not being able to have fans. So you don't know where that's going to be at. And then once the campus is closed down, if we don't have anything to play for, then eventually I'm sure they're going to want to go home and they're going to be sent home. And then we'll start up the next semester. I'm assuming in January. I can't think of the date right now. But a lot of that stuff hasn't been laid out as far as whether they can stay over. But my initial guess would be that you'd allow them to go home for Christmas.
Do you know what your staff will be doing? I would be shocked if you're allowed to go on the road like you normally would.
I would be very surprised if they allow us to go on the road. I would think that we're in the same situation as we were in spring recruiting, that we would be on lockdown until the semester would start. That'd be my guess right now if you wanted me to make a guess.
Thanks.
Next, we'll go to Danny Emmerman.
Hey, Dino. So when you look at BC, there's a few similarities in that, it's a program in the Northeast with, storied history, just like Syracuse. Is there anything that you've seen out of Jeff Hafley and his program, maybe in recruiting or otherwise, that, it might be good to emulate at Syracuse?
Well, I don't know about that. They're a rival program, and it's a rival game for us. So, but I think the big thing is he went out and got a bunch of transfers that were all eligible. I've got to find out what the formula is for getting transfers that are eligible, and so that they can play instead of sit. So I would definitely like to emulate that. There's no doubt about that. But outside of that, I just think we're, they do what they do, and we do what we do. We both obviously want to recruit the Northeast, and we both will. And they'll win battles, we'll win battles, and hopefully we pick more of the right ones and less of the wrong ones.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next one to Jacob Payne.
Coach, after the game, you said that a lot of seniors and upperclassmen didn't like seeing too many young players on the field. Obviously, you've had to have a lot of that. But you said they'd rather see the upperclassmen when they're trying to finish on a high note. I'm curious, on that flip side, what are the chances of them being more likely to stick around with that extra year of eligibility if they were able to see what some of the younger quarterbacks offer?
Well, I don't know. I think they would. I think it's all the positions, not just the quarterbacks. But I think it's a little bit different for the senior class. Is that some of them. I mean, they're going to have options to come back, and then some of them doesn't. They won't want to come back. They've already got their degrees and they're ready to start their lives. And it'll come to a point where we're going to sit down and we'll have to talk about it. But I think there's no doubt that if they see some upside, that they may have an inkling to say, hey, this could be good. Let's hang around one more year. Or from a selfish standpoint or an inner self point, they may have an opportunity to get a master's degree from Syracuse University paid for to go along with their undergraduate degree, which has monetary value for hanging around 1 year and getting a 1-year master's, which you can achieve here at Syracuse, which is very unique. So there's a lot of reasons for guys to stay around, but I think there's no doubt that them thinking they're going to be a part of a good football team is a big reason, or another reason that they would definitely take into consideration and would help them make that decision.
And a quick follow-up for guys like Markowitz and Morgan, do you think the best chance for them to get off to a good foot in 2020 is to get the opportunity with 4 games left in 2020?
We're going to always go out and try to win football games. That's what we're going to do. And then when it comes to a point where we don't think that we can do that, then the next best thing to do is to evaluate your personnel. So we're going to go out, try to win football games, and whatever happens after that happens. But we'll make those decisions as they come.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to John Kikis.
Hey, Coach. How do you handle practice? How are you handling practice this week? Because tomorrow's a mandatory day off.
Well, first of all, I'm drinking coffee all day because we moved practice to today. So we'll have a night practice today, and then tomorrow they'll have that day completely off for the national election. And then we'll come back with our normal schedule on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday with the game on Saturday. I believe it's a 2 o'clock game this week with the Saturday 2 o'clock kickoff.
And I missed part of your response earlier about tomorrow. Are any players going out in the community to help with the election or not?
We had talked about that early in June, and we have a special advisor, Salatha Willis, who's going to be handling all that for them. I'm not quite sure on all the ins and outs, but there was a big agenda of a lot of things that they wanted to do for the election, and that's in his department now, and I'm sure that that's all coming to a head.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. We got time for 2 more. We'll start with Josh St. Croix.
Hey, Coach. You talked a little bit about Sean Tucker after the game on Saturday. Just wondering if you expect him to, try to give it a go this week. And either way, is Cooper Lutz a guy that you expect to maybe use a little bit more, moving forward here?
First of all, like I said, Sean's a tough guy. He always wants to go. I mean, he's one of those guys that you try to keep from going. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I haven't seen him out in the field for a whole week, so we'll see if he shows up tonight or not. And then, I was really happy with what Cooper did. I would imagine that there's still some plays out there for Cooper based off of what we saw in the Wake Forest game.
Thanks, Josh. And for our last question, we'll go to Mark Larson.
Hey, Coach, just one more on Jacoby. And you said it a little while ago about Cooper, how the moment didn't look too big for him. And I know, you know, he wasn't facing the first string defense, but he went 7 for 7. So it seems like maybe Jacobian has that quality too. Is that something that excites you about him and that allowed him to be that next guy up? Or what was it that you saw in him that allowed him to be behind Culpepper?
You know, it was very close. I mean, Dylan's a good quarterback. You know, it was very close, and that's why we're still evaluating these guys in practice. And I'm excited that he did what he did. And there's probably going to be opportunities for other guys too. But you just can't put it down on paper. You got to see how the flow of the game goes. You got to see how, obviously, how Rex is going to be and what's going on with him. And then based off of those things, you make the game decisions. But I don't think you write it down or predetermine it right now. You just got to kind of take it the way it goes.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark. That concludes today's press conference. Media, just a reminder, player interviews are going to be Wednesday this week due to the day off tomorrow. So don't forget to get those RSVPs in. Thank you.